Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hi friends, welcome to another recommendations video, and today we're doing kind of a one that I would consider kind of like a mashup type of recommendation. So I have a book recommendation form that is linked down in my description. It's always there. Always make sure you're checking out my description. I have lots of links for, of course, things that I have discounts available for, as well as links to books that I always am talking about in the video. So, always remember to check out the description down below. But in that video recommendation form, I had someone, Hannah, who asked for dark small town romances. Okay. And I was like, ooh, that could be fun. And as soon as I started to put this list together, and this often happens, like once I decide on it, I start to notice like what the themes are even more so, of like which books are getting pulled into it. And so for this one, I will say that a good chunk of these are dark cowboy romance. Okay. Which shouldn't surprise you because cowboys are usually in the small town or the country area, and dark cowboys have been a big thing right now. So these first few recs we're going to do, I've talked about a lot in regards to that. We're going to touch on those. Then I have some that I would consider what we call like suspenseful small town. So they're dark because of what's happening in that town, but not necessarily because like the relationship is very dark, which is usually how I define dark romance, is that there's situational dark, like if bad things are happening in it. And then there's like, is the relationship toxic, right? Like those are the kinds of different dark. So we have that going on with this, where I have ones where like the relationship's a bit toxic and also, like that's what kind of makes it dark. And then I have ones that it's kind of suspenseful. And then I just have, I think, one of these that is straight up just kind of heavy stuff in a small town. So I'll explain each as we go through, but that first chunk, we're going to start with those dark cowboy romances, which if you like these few I mentioned, I have a full video on dark cowboy romance, which I'll link up here if I remember to do. But let's go ahead and dive into these. And again, thank you so much to Hannah for recommending this one. If you want to recommend a video, go ahead and put it down in that form. I don't get to everything, obviously. I've had many things recommended that I'm just never going to be able to make a video for, or it's too oddly specific. But remember, there are times where I've done videos where we mash things together. Like I just did one that has both like pirates and sirens and like sea creatures, so it was all things revolving around the sea. So I've done that as well with like a kink video where I had lots of really oddly specific kinks people wanted, and I didn't have enough to do a taboo rec video, so I did that. So never feel like it's too specific what you request. Just know that it might take a while for me to put that together, or I haven't read any of it, or again, some of them are too oddly specific that like I can't make a video about it, but I do my best, and sometimes your video gets picked. So thank you so much to Hannah. One last thing, you can anonymously recommend those. I ask if you would like a shout out. If you don't want a shout out, you can just recommend it and not say anything else. So, okay, let's go through these dark small town romances. Okay, so first off is, of course, Sovereign, right? Like I said, we're starting with these dark cowboy romances, and Sovereign is one that I read last year, and it made it into my favorites actually. There's another book in this series, Deacon, coming in April, but these are dark. There's BDSM involved. Again, a lot of books that are considered dark, it's because of the sexual element that makes them dark, so just know that as well. But this one is wild, and we have Gerard Sovereign, who is kind of the big dog in this area. He's like a millionaire rancher. He owns Sovereign Mountain Ranch, and he wants to take down some of his enemies. And it just so happens that one of his enemies is married to this beautiful woman. And when he goes to make a deal with this guy, he sees this woman, and she sees that she's being kind of mistreated by this asshat, and decides that he wants her. And so he kind of accelerates a bit a plan that he already had in place to kind of take over this guy's life type of thing. And when her husband ends up dead, just a couple days after her meeting Gerard Sovereign, she discovers that she's left everything, which was a surprise to her husband's brothers, because her husband hated her and only married her to get access to her family land. And so she now has control of everything, but her brothers-in-law are trying to take it back from her. and Sovereign steps in and offers her a position as his long-term sub and to be his, you know, everything he wants her to be, and he will take care of the debt that her husband owes her and also keep those men off of her family land and everything. I truly love this one because this book is centered around the BDSM relationship, and it's a deep one, but I love that stuff, and it'd been a long time since I'd read one that really went so deep into why people like to be submissive and why people are dominant and what they both offer the other, and how it may seem like one person is completely in control, but it's actually like it's equal. It's not straight up that like the submissive is the one in control. Yes, they're in control of like they can stop what's happening at any time. They're not being forced into the sex. But it is like both ways of what they offer each other. And there couldn't be a dominant without a submissive, and there isn't a submissive without like a dominant to be able to do it. And I just thought it was so well done. Plus there's some suspense and murder and fires and all that. And it's a wonderful story. I love it. Then we have Chasing the Wild. We have the Crimson Ridge series. There's also another book in this series coming in April, I think. But Chasing the Wild, this one is an ex-boyfriend's dad. And in this case, the ex-boyfriend, I'm fairly positive he's getting a bit of a redemption arc because he's not such a jackass in book 2 as he is in book 1. But we have our heroine here, Layla, who things go a bit bad for her when her ex-boyfriend has taken out like a loan in her name, and she already isn't doing well financially, and then she has no way to pay for like the rest of her like vet school, and she's having to move so that she can go for an internship. And when she ends up going to confront this guy, she ends up snowed in for the winter at his ranch with his dad. He happens to be not there at the time, but she gets snowed in with the dad at the ranch. And they are going to fall head over heels for each other and have lots of naughty sex, and it's going to be great. Okay, like it's going to be great. It's hot. And these ones are mostly dark for like the bit of taboo element going on. Like book 2, Braving the Wild, is a adoptive uncle niece situation, so no blood relation, but like taboo because of that. And yeah, I love this series as well. Elliot Rose hit it out of the park. There is also Bull Rush by Maggie Rodden, and this one is a second chance romance. It's a couple who thought they were divorced, and when the hero actually gets out of jail, because he did, no big deal, just have a accidental manslaughter charge, or is it aggravated? I don't know, but he was a football player. He defended his friend's girl and ended up killing the guy who was coming after her, and he went to jail for it, and now he's out. And he thought he was divorced from his ex-wife, but when he gets out on parole, he's told he needs to go stay with her. And she was the address who's written down on his stuff. And he's like, oh my gosh, I haven't been with her in forever, but he doesn't really have a choice. And she happens to be engaged to marry someone else. And when she goes to get a marriage license and a loan for her business, she discovers she's still married to Ramsey. And now that Ramsey knows they're still married, he kind of sees this as his shot to win her back. So this was dark and sexy and hot, and I loved these two so much. Okay, one other dark cowboy romance is one that I read recently called Of Fillies and Monsters by Landon Hill. This was very dark, like straight up. This one wasn't dark. This one isn't just dark because of like kinky sex, though there's that. This is a stalker romance. It's also a heroine who was very abused as a young person, and now both of her parents are dead, and she's left the family farm, and she has no one to help her run it. The whole town wants to run her out of town. They don't care about her or what the father was putting her through all of this time. And yeah, people want to run her out of town. And our hero, again, he's been stalking her for a long time, and he sees his opening to slide on in there. He's an ex like bronc rider, and he slides on in there to be a stable hand and ranch worker. And he very much comes across as an enemy to her, but he's willing to work for just like room and board. And so she can't say no. And now her stalker is literally there and able to like watch her sleep at night and, slowly drive her a little bit crazy until she's ready to be with him. So yeah, this one gave me a lot of confusing emotions, as you can maybe tell about how I'm talking about it, but I also was fascinated by this, and I thought that the author, this was her debut book, I thought she did a remarkable job with it in a lot of ways still. So yeah, that's why I put it on the list. I want more people to give it a go, because I know I have a lot of dark romance girlies who watch me, and maybe it will be your cup of tea, even though it was a little bit much for me. So that's what I'm here for, is to pass that on to people, right? Okay, then let's see where to go now. Where to go now with what I was going to go through. Okay, let's do the couple that are more a little bit like kind of dark. I don't know. Which way do I want to do that? I don't know. These ones are like not completely listed as a dark romance, but when I tell you some of the stuff that's going on in them, they fit for me as kind of a dark romance. So one of those is All My Love by Daisy Jane. Okay. Now this is an erotic series. It's a trilogy, The Twisted Sisters, and they are all crazy in some way. And I know that's a tough word. Like, there's no other say. They are mentally disturbed. How do you say it? And in this first one, we have Dahlia, who she is in love with her next door neighbor. She has been for quite a few years. I think it's been 4 years, and she's been in love with him since she was like, since she was like 15 or something. He's a single dad. They live right next door, and she's an artist as well, and she is obsessed with this hero, and she's been biding her time until she's old enough and she can make herself known to him that she loves him. And she kind of has to kind of take her time doing that, because again, he's 38 and she's like, I think only 21. And he is a very like honorable, good guy. He's also very wealthy in this town. And so there are a lot of women who want him, and she's just been biding her time. She babysits the little boy at points. But she's biding her time. And when he is being kind of pushed into dating someone by his sister, Dahlia just like, she's like, that's it. I have to make myself known now. I can't watch him date someone, possibly be sleeping with someone. He's mine. Dahlia does a lot. Dolly is what we call her. She does a lot of creepy things. Okay. Like when he's gone in the morning, she will sneak over and like steal his toothbrush so she can suck him off of the toothbrush. She will drink what's left of his coffee from the cup. Like, she's a stalker, okay? And it's disturbing, but it's also endearing in a lot of ways, because it's that thing of like, what truly if your stalker only cared about you, right? That is the thing that Daisy Jane is playing around with this, and why, particularly upon reread, because the first time I read this, I was just so like, what is this, right? And I just thought it was wild. And I still think it's wild. And there's a lot to like love about this. You just have to, in your mind, be prepared for what you're walking into when you walk into this book, because she's bonkers, y'all. And she does crazy things, but we know it's because she truly, truly loves him. The thing is, it's also that thing of like, what if the guy who's being stalked never spurned the woman who wanted him? Because it's that thing of like the crazy hot matrix. Do you remember when that went around and we all were like, that's just ridiculous? But like, Dahlia is so beautiful, and so like, he's so into her, and he has had a wife who cheated on him before. And so having a woman be so completely obsessed with him and love his son so much and want to do everything for him is like, you know, he accepts it instead of, you know, getting a restraining order like most people would. So this is kind of that crazy what if the stalker truly did just want the best for the person and wasn't doing anything nefarious? And then what if the person being stalked liked it when he found out instead of being scared? So he's more upset that she's been lying, that she's been stalking, than anything else. So this is wild. And why I put it in my dark small town is that maybe you can tell by what I said. This is not just an erotic contemporary. Like, this is dark stuff. And further on in the series too, like particularly the third one, the third sister is a serial killer. So it's done in this light, heavy way, but there's dark stuff in this series, okay? So All My Love, she's not joking. Let's just say that. She's not joking. Okay, then we have Truly Madly Deeply by L.J. Shen. And again, I didn't quite know to put this one in here, but I think this book fits into a dark romance category because of some of the things that our heroine has like lived through. So our heroine, her name is, what is her name? Ro. Her name is Ro. And his name is Cal? Yes. No. His name is Ro and her name is Cal? Calla. Yep. Okay. And she was actually like, so this is an ex-best friend's brother. And we actually have flashbacks to when they were very young. He's actually the one, I believe, who like took her virginity. And then the best friend like found out and completely blew up their relationship. And Calla, because she thought she was kind of just like a, you know, conquest for him, like spurns him. And it actually truly hurt him because he was into her. And so now he hates her for many years. Hates her because she slept with him and then completely was like, oops, I'm sorry, never mind. And so he's really harbored a lot of pain about that. But he's become a world famous chef and he's back in his small town to try to get business going in this small town. Well, the small town hates him for that because they think it's going to ruin their small town, but he's going to try to do it anyway and start this business there. She's back in town because her father has died, and so she's there looking out for her mother, and she needs a job while she's there, so she ends up being hired by his restaurant, and so now they're forced to be around each other, and there's just like lots of sparks going on. But there are these attempts by the town to vandalize his business, and there are also some like stalking things that are happening, and there's also a lot that was going on in Cal's life when she was young that made her not believe that Ro could have loved her when they were first together. And so, yeah, Ro has this type of personality that he, like, hates her, but he also has to help her. He can't help but help her. So it's a very interesting, like, vibe from him. So, again, that's one that maybe not everyone would read it as a dark, small town, but it's in a very small town, and there are dark things happening and heavy things going on, and the, like, trigger warnings are heavy in that one. So I'm fitting it in to this, right? Like, this is my list, and I'm making stuff up, right? Okay, another one that just feels more dark because of the taboo and because of the topics in it is Two Wrongs by Carrillo. Can't remember how to pronounce this, but this one is also an ex's dad, but not even quite an ex. This is husband's dad. Like, she is married to her husband when some of this stuff goes down. So our heroine actually is in kind of a semi-abusive relationship with her partner. They've been together since they were young, and he has currently been cheating on her and drinking and causing problems. And in the beginning of this story, she's ready to kind of leave him. And her husband's father has like always has hated her. Now, we as the like reader will discover that a lot of the reasons why he hated her is that he thought she was too good for his son and should have left town. So he tried to kind of scare her away. But the thing is, he's went way too far with that by this point, because like, she was married to your son for how long and you still kept treating her like shit? So there's this whole thing. Well, when the son finally fucks up, he's forced to go to rehab. And so again, like, she's planning to leave him. And as soon as he like gets out of rehab, she's going to get a divorce from him. But she is actively married to him when this goes down. And when the dad actually finally figures out how much his son has fucked her over, he really feels awful because she had like drained him. Or he had drained her of money, kept her from going to school truly and getting a really good job. And now she doesn't even have the best of job. And he's like sucking her dry. And so when all of this becomes clear, he's like, wow, this was really fucked up. And so while his son is in this like rehab, which like he almost died, he like overdosed and almost died. And it was a whole thing. And our heroine has just been pushed so far that she just can't mentally handle what's happening either. But the hero's dad ends up, or not the hero's dad, the hero is the dad of this guy. He has her like move in with him for a short amount of time. And I don't know, they both are mutually attracted to each other. And so since she's very much going to be ending her marriage with the son, they agree that they're going to like hook up while she's living with him. So lots of dancing around to get to the point, but this is like a taboo relationship between the two of them. And there's also some daddy kink going on because he also likes doing that. But he's never had someone long-term that he could experiment with. And so that's what happens between the two of them. So yeah, this was one I read for ex-boyfriend's dad for my Patreons. And this was an interesting one. Like, I'm not gonna lie. This one, I was really into it, and other times I was like, this relationship is so fucked up. Which is how you can feel about dark romance at a lot of points, you know? Like, that's how things go sometimes. Okay, now these last two are really truly like small town suspense. So maybe you won't consider them as dark, but I thought I'd throw these ones in there just in case you want kind of a varying level. So we have the Small Town Suspense series by Claire Kingsley that she's currently writing. This is the Haven brothers. These are actually getting trad pubbed right now, which is super cool. So like Casablanca is doing this one, but I actually have been lucky enough to get the arcs of this series, and they've been really good. I have a piece of artwork for this one. Right there, look at that. Lots of flannel, lots of good stuff. So this one is Audrey Young, and she could totally handle the mess that is her life, except she can't get over the strange feeling that she's being watched. So this is a stalker romance here. So it's bad enough that she moved back to the small town of Tillicum, a place that she could never call home, and her landlord and new neighbor, Josiah Haven. And that's complicated. She doesn't usually go for the big surly lumberjack type, but there's something about that broody man. He intimidates her a little, but she kind of likes it. The frustrating hot girl next door is not Josiah Haven's problem. Audrey is all sunshine, and her goofy dog isn't any better. Josiah is too stoic, too solitary, too guarded. He doesn't need a woman in his life, especially one who threatens to crack his heart open. But the feeling of being watched is just the beginning for Audrey. Next thing she knows, she's a target, and she doesn't know who's behind it or why. Josiah is a protector, and he can't let Audrey's troubles go unanswered, even if he has to risk everything to keep her safe. So this one is a stalker romance. Book 2 in the series is a, what's book 2? Do we have it listed? Cute. Yeah, Storms and Secrets, and that one is Zachariah and Marigold. Yes, and this one is, oh, why can't I remember the setup of Storms and Secrets? Okay, yeah, that one is a, they've known each other their whole lives type of one, I think, is Storms and Secrets. But then Temptation Trails, that's a single dad who is a law enforcement officer, and there's an accidental pregnancy in that one. The suspense element of Storms and Secrets, I know it has to do with a girl being, like, kidnapped, is what's in that one. But I don't fully remember it, but I've liked all of them. It's just been a while since I've read some of them. And then I want to recommend, I mean, really just A.L. Jackson in general, but particularly this newest series she has coming out, the Moonlit Ridge series. This series involves this group of bikers who rescue women and children from, like, domestic abuse situations. It's kind of like a biker group witness relocation type thing, kind of. So this story is a single dad romance, but just to tell you that this guy, each person in the biker group does a different job. There we go. So like one of them is in charge of actually extracting the people, one of them is in charge of getting them a new identity, one of them is in charge of making them have disappeared, and they all work together to do this because they're all from different broken paths and they all have reasons why they want to protect, you know. And so in this one we have, I believe Charlie's the name of the heroine in here. We have Charlie and River. Yes. And Charlie is new to this town, and she has a pretty haunting past. It becomes known like pretty soon on that she herself is someone who escaped from a pretty abusive situation, but she's carrying a lot of heartache because she lost people that she loved in this escape. And so she carries a lot of guilt for that. And then River, he's really drawn to her when she comes into his tattoo shop and gets like her first tattoo, I believe is how that one. Yeah. And now he can't stop thinking about her. So they both have secrets they're trying to hide that they think the other one can't possibly understand. And they're going to learn that their lives are more connected than they think they are. And then book 2 in this series, which is Under an Endless Moon, is River's younger sister, Raven. and one of the men who's also on his crew. So that one is like a best friend's little sister, and she ends up needing protection because there's someone who is stalking her. So there are kind of some like dark elements to those ones, but not like too much. So yeah. But anyway, I hope this scratched the itch for what some people were looking for. This is actually harder than you think to find these and not have them all already fit into another thing. Like, there definitely are more biker romance that fit into this. There's more dark cowboy romance that fit into this. And there even is, oh my gosh, I have one more to mention still. There's one that is mafia adjacent, though only book 1 in the series is like small town, and that is When He Desires by Gabrielle Sands. Because in this one, we have our hero Nero, who at the end of the first series that Gabrielle Sands wrote, he actually needs to go in kind of like a mafia witness protection. Like, he needs to pretend that he's dead. And so him and his friend move to this small town, and they are living there. And his next door neighbor, her name is Blake, and he becomes kind of obsessed with her. But she knows him as a different name. I forgot what his like other name is. She knows him as a different name because he's there undercover. And he becomes obsessed with her. And he starts kind of falling back to some of his old like mafia ways to try to get her attention, even though he should be lying low and not drawing attention from anyone. But yeah, he definitely becomes obsessed with her, and he wants to spend more time with her, to the point that he may or may not make it so that she has to move in with him for a reason I won't tell you. And now they're roommates, and he's able to really put the charm on her, as it were. So that's one that also fits in mafia. Because what I was going to say is that usually mafia isn't a small town because it's in the cities where the crime happens the most. But that's one that fits into it because in the first book, he's in this small town. Now, the second book, it's not going to stay that way. But the first book, anyway, fits into that small town, like enemies to lovers situation. So there you go. As I was saying before, I hope this fits some of the itch that you might have for this type of story. Let me know if you have any recommendations that you would share for this. Again, I really tried to pare it down because there could be lots of other ones we get in here, but I feel like dark cowboy, suspense, those ones really fit into it well. So thank you so much for watching, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. I put up new videos 4 times a week. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, like this. I really want to make it to 25K this year. We're getting so close to it. So help me get there. If you find yourself watching me a lot on your TV, but you're not subscribed, you can just take your remote, whatever it is, and go down and then go over to my little face logo there, and you can subscribe right from your TV. You don't have to pull up your phone. I know how it is. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.